Alexa Ray Corriea, what is your favorite game?
My favorite game is Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Good God, that's long.
I know, it's terrible. I actually got started playing games a little bit later in the game. I know a lot of people say like, "Oh, my first console was like the Super Nintendo, and I was 2 years old. My parents got it for me for Christmas."
Lots of
My
people say
parents,
that.
yeah, well, my parents actually refused to buy us any video game consoles because they didn't want to. Yeah, they didn't want to. So I was a very hyperactive child. I was very imaginative. I got in trouble at school, but I was also like really smart, and they thought that getting me like a game console would sort of like feed into my hyperactivity, like it would overstimulate me. So we never had one. But my cousin, my sweet little cousin Tommy, my cousins lived like two towns over, and my aunt was my babysitter a lot of the time. So I would go over there. And I would play video games on his consoles. And he had, the SNES, and he had, we'd play 1080 snowboarding was like the thing that he loved to play. So we were playing that, and we'd play Mario. And I got my first taste of like Final Fantasy there. Like I played Final Fantasy VI. It was my first Final Fantasy, and it's still my favorite. And we just got the ball rolling. My two little brothers were born. We're all 5 years apart. And when my littlest brother was, I think, 2, and I was 12, we managed to finally convince our parents to buy us a video game console, and she bought us a PS2. So that was my first home system. And from there, it was a downward spiral. I got them into playing. Like the littlest one is in college now, and the other one has like a job like in video, and we're all corrupted for life. And that was the end of the story.
That first fix is always
All you need.
it's exactly it's all you need. That first fix, just once you're hooked, you're hooked.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like a lot of my friends at that point were like, oh, like they had game consoles in their house, and they'd be like, oh, I've been, playing forever. And it was just games. Video games were always a part of my life. But I sort of came in, I don't want to say 6 or 7 is late to the game, but I came in late enough that I was like, holy crap, look at this backlog. And I just devoured them like someone who's been starving and didn't know they were starving. So I accumulated a lot of it in a very short amount of time. And it just became this thing in my life. So
it just basically, like I said, the first fix is always the deepest.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned those first few games, like Snowboard 1080 and Mario 64 and Final Fantasy 6. Like, how did you find those like experiences overall, like as your first kind of gateway, so to speak?
Well, something that I've always loved, and like my first big book when I was, I think, 10, I read The Lord of the Rings for the first time. Like, I was a really early reader, and I really loved high fantasy and like weird fantasy worlds. I had an overactive imagination. I was just a crazy child. So being able to sit down and sort of escape into these other worlds was like very, very appealing for me. Like, I always felt, and I still feel like when I boot up Mario 64, that I'm sort of like looking through a portal into some like magical place that I shouldn't be, like Narnia or something. And they just drew me in. And even today, like I still sort of feel like, oh, like this game world, like when I think of my first, like I'm replaying Twilight Princess HD right now. And I think about the first time I played it, and I was much younger, and everything just seemed so inaccessible and like mysterious to me. And I think that's what kept me like finding more and going back to them. And now that I'm sort of an adult and I know better ish, when I go into games like Bloodborne, for example, because that had a big impact on me last year, I still feel like in some ways it's like this intangible, inaccessible, magical world, and that inaccessibility pushes me forward to seek it out more and to spend more time with it, but it's not accessible. It's just sort of like my brain thinking like, oh, here's this magical world, but surprise, you're actually in it and doing stuff. And I think that balance between like sort of touching the fantastical and still sort of not exactly touching it makes me just love games.
Mm-hmm. No, I can totally get it, because like immersion's a big part of whether I like or really, really love a game. Like for me, like I can I'm babbling now. This is what happens when you're gone 5 months. For me, I'm always more of a real world immersive kind of person. Like I can get into like say the worlds of Grand Theft Auto a lot more easily. Whereas fantasy, it depends on the genre for me. Like with The Witcher, like I can't really immerse myself into that world. Not just because of parts of the world, although I can definitely respect what CD Projekt did with that game, but also how that the controls just kind of I don't quite know how to put it, but I don't get along with the controls for The Witcher. that kind of breaks immersion for me. And that's another thing, like as much as immersion in a game really helps, like if I find something that really takes me out of it, like say wonky controls or bugs or whatever, it just breaks the illusion for me. So
no, I totally agree. I think what was the super buggy game that came out? So Assassin's Creed Unity a couple years ago. Yeah. Like I like historical stuff as well, and I was really into it, but the amount of times that game just straight up broke on me kind of ruined it. Like I couldn't connect, I couldn't touch it. It felt like I was like in bed with a stranger, you know?
Like even now with I'm a kind of jaded player when it comes to Assassin's Creed, but it kind of tells you a lot about Unity that I still have all the Assassin's Creed games, even free, and yet I still and I still traded in Unity. It was although to be fair, I'm quite tempted again to pick up Unity just to see how it is now, because I'm sure it's a lot better to play, but at the time just no.
Yeah. I didn't finish it, but I finished it. Like I 100%ed Syndicate. I really liked Syndicate, so it's sort of making me think like, well, maybe I should go back and give it a try. I might.
Like I've played little bits of Syndicate, like not a great deal of it. I think I've played about 2 to 3 hours of Syndicate, maybe 4 hours of Syndicate, and I think even from that, it's the best game I've played since Black Flag. Although to be fair, it's only been a 2-game gap since Black Flag, but even still,
yes.
And even then, Black Flag's the best game since AC2. So,
agreed.
Like, is there any other games that recently that you kind of find yourself immersed in that kind of you adore in terms of that immersion? You mentioned Twilight Princess HD, but like, what others?
Oh gosh, I know we sort of spoke about this earlier, but like I really, really went in went all in on Fire Emblem Fates. I am a big fan of the Fire Emblem franchise. I loved Awakening, and it sort of rekindled my like deep love for the series. And Fates, like the idea, I think it was the story for me, the story and the characterization, just the idea of being like this person torn between like your birth family and your adopted family, and like you love everyone. Like the way that they have that character play is very much how I feel. Like I really like people, and I like try to make everyone happy, and like I'm a deep feeler, so I really connected with the idea of like bringing everyone together and like stopping a war. And the way that they just do like the relationships in that game, where you can have people like fall in love, then they have a kid, and then that kid becomes like an extra powerful fighter. Like the way that they did like the dialogue and some of like the more nuanced relationships between like you and your adopted brother, or you and like your childhood best friend, or like you and like soldier number 5 who like you don't really have any reason to connect with, but you somehow do. Like there's a lot of thought put into those relationships, and I just fell in love with it. And like the DLC has been rolling out for the past month, and I am still going back and playing it. It's after I've put like 90 hours in. It's fantastic.
I'm genuinely jealous of everyone in the US who has Emblems.
I know.
Fire Emblem Fates, because it's still not out here in Europe. Nintendo announced this week, as of recording this in their direct, that it's coming out in May
20th.
God damn it!
1 year.
1 year. I know. Like, to be fair, like Fates would be my first Fire Emblem game. Like,
oh my gosh!
Like I really want to get in, I want to play Awakening, but I can't find a copy of it around where I live, so I may have to go online and see if I can get a copy on cheap before Fates. But even now, it's not just Fates as well. A month later, there's Tokyo. I can't remember the rest of it, but it's
Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
That's it. Oh my god, I've been excited for that one, and even without the Fire Emblem establishment on it, because it's not even as much Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. I basically like to refer it as Performa, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. The problem is with that, in the UK anyways, it comes out the same day as No Man's Sky, and that's
Jesus,
and that's the most anticipated game on my list. Way to clash with my most anticipated games industry. Good job. Good job. Touch on how you first got into the industry side of things, though.
How I got into the industry? Oh God, it was an accident. Like I don't even know exactly how it happened. I lived in Boston for the longest time, and I was actually an administrator at Boston University, where I graduated did my undergrad, and then also was doing like a master's degree part-time in like literary criticism. And for some reason, I don't know what I was thinking I was going to do with that, but I was just doing my own thing, and like me and my friends cosplayed a lot and played a lot of games together. Like our thing was to get together on like a Friday night and play a JRPG, like play a single player game and sit and play, like watch it like it was a movie. And I started like a Tumblr, and I would just like write thoughts on a Tumblr, and then I started writing for like this little enthusiast press blog based out of New York. So I would go back and forth to like events in New York, and it was free. Like I didn't get paid. I put a lot of work into it, but nobody ever paid me. And I went to GDC, and I just I liked it a lot. And at some point, like I had this switch in my head, and I was just like, wait a minute, like I'm really good at this, and I really like this, and I kind of want to work in around with games somehow. Like I want to be here. Like maybe this is what I'll do with my life. And then I applied when, Polygon was over at Vox Media was forming. I applied and didn't hear anything for like 6 months. So I was like, oh, well, all right, I tried. And then like out of the blue, like the day before my like 24th birthday, I think, I got a call from Vox, and they were just like, hey, are you still interested in like applying and whatever? And like, yeah. So I, did the application again, and I got started, and I got a job there. And now I'm at GameSpot in San Francisco, and I never thought I'd be here. And it's crazy. And I still look back, and I don't exactly remember when the moment happened that I like decided I wanted to do this, or that I like became part of the industry. It just sort of happened, and now it's like, oh, cool.
just kind of sneaks up on you like that?
Yeah, it just snuck up on me like a magical weird thing.
Right, let's get into it then. Your favourite game, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep.
Yes.
Good Lord, that's a stupid title, and we will get into that. But so this is a kind of interesting topic to bring up first off about the game, because your introduction to the series, and I'll actually admit up front, this is actually the reason why I actually wanted to bring you on this show, because of your article you wrote for Polygon quite a few years ago. It is honestly one of my favourite articles I've ever read on GameSpot. It really is, though. It really is. I'm not just saying that to flatter you. It really is like one of my favourite articles ever in terms of games writing. Like, I'm a sucker who loves personal writing or writers who, kind of wear the heart in their sleeve, because I'm basically the same. Because like I just write personally from the heart, but I love the way of how that introduction to the series, how you brought your family around that with your brothers, and how you how they introduced, or well, how your mum basically brought you back a copy of Kingdom Hearts, basically.
We had to bully her into that. Well, she was looking for something, and she thought everything looked too violent, and like we were that family that went to Disney World every summer together. So I guess she thought like, oh, this is Disney, it'll be fine.
Oh dear, if only she knew.
Oh, she knows.
But yeah, I absolutely adore that piece. So that was fantastically written. So thank you for writing that. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. A weird addendum to that piece, actually. I had the privilege of a couple months after that story went live, I think like maybe 2 months at New York Comic Con, I had the privilege of meeting Tetsuya Nomura, and he told me that he read it and he was absolutely touched by it. And of course, I like broke down in tears in front of him. So now every time I see him, he's just like, "Hey, what's up? How are your brothers?" Like it's like he sent me like a Christmas card and was like, "Say hi to your family for me." I was like, Jesus, this is like crazy, but yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
He's a sweet guy.
Oh, that's genuine. That's kind of like finding out about a different side of Tetsuya Nomura now. Because he comes, like, I'm not trying to say this to be like mean, but he comes across as a kind of, for the lack of a better term, moody. But the way you put him across there, it just sounds so sweet.
I wouldn't say moody. I think the reason like I sort of like identify with him a lot, and I have a lot of respect for him, is because he's a deep feeler. Like he feels things very deeply, and like he writes all like the main story and like the scenario for all of those Kingdom Hearts games, and there's some themes, and we'll get into that, but there's like some themes and some stuff in there that just makes me like, oh man, like this came out of his head. Like this is like a really like sorrowful or like really like critical piece of thinking here. So yeah.
So now that we've covered upon that article and the kind of first introduction to the series, let's try and catch up on the series so far to date, because actually no, we can't, because Birth by Sleep is the first game in the series, and that is going to be worth touching upon itself in terms of the series timeline, because like we said earlier, oh my god, it's convoluted. But
yeah,
but basically, give the elevator pitch on Birth by Sleep, because basically, like we said, it's just a mumbled jumbled mess.
So Birth by Sleep is not the first Kingdom Hearts game, but chronologically in the narrative, it comes first. Like it is when it came out, it was a prequel. Like it was marketed as, this is a prequel to Kingdom Hearts 1. So it is essentially the story of how shit went south and how everything in Kingdom Hearts 1 came to be. There are 3 characters, and they're all like Keyblade wielders, and they essentially run up against this really evil guy voiced by Leonard Nimoy, by the way. May he rest in peace. His voice acting in that game was phenomenal. He was so good. But they run up against this evil guy who wants to flood the whole world, like all the worlds, with darkness, because he thinks that light and darkness are no longer in balance and light is too strong, so he needs to bring the darkness. It's a total like Star Wars-y thing. It's a balance of light and dark.
Basically counterbalance it.
Yeah, so he thinks that it's darkness. It is the time of darkness, according to him. And he's getting old, so he's getting old and needs to find someone to help him carry on his legacy. So he corrupts this one kid. He very, very easily wheedles his way into his psyche. And one of the other kids, you find out, actually has like an evil... It's too convoluted. Well, okay, fine, I'll get into it. He's actually like this evil guy. His name is Xehanort. Took all of the darkness in this kid's heart and made another human being. So he is 2 people, one of pure darkness and one of like pure goodness, and they fight. And then there's the third one, the girl, who is basically just trying to clean everything up and clean up the mess. And what the evil guy does is, the guy that he's corrupted, Terra, he actually possesses his body. Like he takes over his body because he wants to be young and spry again and have a little more time. And that person, that possessed Terra, possessed by Xehanort, becomes the main antagonist of Kingdom Hearts 1. Like he's split into 2 separate people in Kingdom Hearts physics. Like they split his heart and his soul. So his heart is the main villain of Kingdom Hearts 1 and his soul is the villain of Kingdom Hearts 2, but it's not actually him. It's his spirit in someone else's body. It's like incredibly convoluted. But but this is how we find out, like this is the game where we find out all of that junk, where Kingdom Hearts 1 starts to make sense and Kingdom Hearts 2 starts to make sense in terms of like, who are all these bad guys we're fighting and are they connected? Well, they're actually the same guy, just split into a bunch of people because forget physics. You know?
Oh,
but I love it. Yeah, it's terrible. And it's terrible, and I love it because it was the last game before the series jumped the shark in a terrible way. And it is the first game to portray women in a non-object-y way. And it was the first game that really explored the idea of like what to do when like your friends just totally screw up. Like, how do you, like, the whole series deals with friendship and like having each other's backs, but it's the first game that's like, well, my friends are screwing up and the universe is ending, and I don't have to clean this mess, but because they're my friends, I feel obligated to. So it's like one person's fall, another person's growing of age story, and then a third person's just desperate struggle to take responsibility because she feels like she has to take responsibility and just clean up a mess. And it's really interesting. You like swap between them. They all have their own chapters, so you can switch gameplay between all three of the heroes. And I really liked that. It was the first game in the series to do that. To do that in a meaningful way, like coded and 358 over 2 days let you like play as other characters. But I think that Birth by Sleep was the first one that did it in like a smart, coherent way, as coherent as you can get with Kingdom Hearts.
fair enough, true. I do want to bring up that kind of convoluted nature of the series and its timeline, because holy fuck, how can fans deal with this? Because like, this is, so for those listening, like, this is, I have not played a Kingdom Hearts game since the original on the PlayStation 2 back in 2000. When did it come out in PlayStation 2? 2001,
2002.
So that was around the time it came out. So this was PlayStation 2 version. I have Birth by Sleep on PSP, but I've not touched it because one, the convoluted nature of the series has really put me off the game, and two, my PSP is kind of borked because the battery just keeps popping out of the back of the PSP. But like how on earth do fans even keep up with that series timeline? Like, let alone those like watching along from an outside perspective, so to speak.
Wikia. Like there are days. Like I've done a lot of work with Kingdom Hearts stuff, and like I'll talk about this later, but there are days when I'm like, oh wait, what? And I have to like go back into the Wikia and like refresh my memory on some things. Like my brain can't hold all of that series, and like the fan theories surrounding it are amazing. Every time there's a trailer and every time there's a new game and there's like a secret movie at the end of the game, always sort of foreshadowing the next title. I love seeing what people have to say, because so many people have so many crazy, amazing theories. And the best part is none of them are too crazy, because Kingdom Hearts is crazy. It's all crazy. We're all on the freaking Nomura train to Fucktown. Like everything is like screwed up and amazing, and I love it. And I just love it. It's
I can't believe someone's putting over Kingdom Hearts just for the fact of how batshit insane it is.
Oh my god, it's great. There's a lot of great like videos on YouTube of people who have like taken significant time out of their lives to like make a video explaining the timeline, which is amazing. I've had to, when explaining Kingdom Hearts to people, like if I'm at a party and I start talking about Kingdom Hearts, like if my boyfriend is near me, he'll actually walk away because he's heard me talk about it too many times, and like he just can't fathom it. But I have to draw diagrams for people, like, so here's this guy and he was possessed by this guy, and then he was split into these two guys, and then this guy, like it's so crazy. It's too crazy. Jesus. But it's the best.
I know I've said this already, but Jesus Christ, I didn't think I'd hear someone put over Kingdom Hearts just for how insanely convoluted it is. Oh my god.
I love it.
Oh, fair enough. I can totally get someone's passion for it, but even still, this kind of baffles me as a bit of an outsider, I'll be honest. It's the only game on Earth where like Mickey Mouse
like is running around with a sword, and also Sephiroth is maybe hanging out too. Like it's the best.
Oh dear. Like, how did you find that kind of Disney kind of cross Square Enix Final Fantasy combo kind of jarring at first when you first got into the series, or was it like, nope, I'm just immediately straight into it?
So I'm one of those people. That has like, I have OCD when it comes to like fandoms and stuff. Like I get really upset when canon gets broken. Like it just like bothers my mind, because my mind is like wired in a certain way. So something happens and I'm like, I don't really know. Like it took me, I'm watching Star Wars, like Star Wars Clone Wars and Rebels with my boyfriend, and it's set between like the movies, and I found a really hard time accepting like, oh, like Anakin Skywalker had this apprentice, but she's not in the movies. Like, how are they going to shoehorn her in? They're just like piling stuff in where nothing exists. And it took me a long time to sort of get over that prequel, midquel-iness. So when I first booted up Kingdom Hearts and it was like this kid running around with Donald and Goofy, I was like, why? Like, Donald and Goofy should be doing other things. Like, is this canon? Is this where they live when they're not filming cartoons? Like, what's going on here? Like, it was very like confusing for me, and just sort of like, this is weird. I grew up with Disney. Goofy is not this competent. I don't really know. But it, like, I sort of got over it a little bit, and then they piled in the Final Fantasy characters, and for the first two games they weren't in Chain of Memories, but they were kind of, they were old. But for like the first two games for Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories, the Final Fantasy characters were used in like a weird way. Like I didn't feel like they should be there. Like they were just sort of there to be like, oh, Aerith and Squall are here and they're going to give you a quest. And it was just sort of like, what's going on? And they make allusions to their games. Like Squall, people like Yuffie is there and she's like, yeah, Squall's all screwed up because some shit happened with some girl. And like he has Renoa's little wings on his jacket, and it's like, oh, like he changed his name and moved away because everything went south. And then in future games, you have like Yuna, Riku, and Pain from 10-2 as like fairies, as like treasure hunting fairies. And then in future games, you have like Yuna, Riku, and Pain from 10-2 as like fairies, as like treasure hunting fairies. And in
say that again.
Treasure hunting fairies. They're fairies. They're tiny fairies that fly around, and they show you like where treasure is and stuff. You fight Sephiroth in every game. He's like the boss that is just always there. Cloud is in every game, and Cloud has like a crazy arc as well, involving the underworld from Hercules. I'm not going to ruin that. I really want people to figure that out on their own. Auron, like after those first two games, their use of Final Fantasy characters got better and a little more intuitive and a little more clever. My favorite example being there's two, and one is in Birth by Sleep, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, Auron from Final Fantasy X, who game's been out for like a billion years. I don't care if I spoil it. He's actually dead during the events of Final Fantasy X. So you find him, he's in the underworld. He's in Hercules, animated Hercules. James Woods' Hades is his master. And he's in the underworld running around and as a ghost. And like he fights with you. He's in your party. And him and Hades make these allusions to like, oh, this deal you made to like do whatever. And it's very, very close to what happened with Auron in Final Fantasy X, which is where he like escapes from the far plane, aka the underworld, to come back to the world and help Titus. So it's very like cleverly done. It's like, oh yeah, he was hanging out with Hades and then he went back to help Titus, and it's cool. And in Birth by Sleep, you have Zack Fair from Final Fantasy VII as a child. He's like a 15-year-old boy with a too skinny waist, and he's training to be a hero. And in the first Kingdom Hearts, you find Cloud in the Colosseum because he's following the footsteps of someone, which alludes back to, in Final Fantasy VII, Cloud followed in Zack's footsteps. So here we see Zack in the prequel sort of laying the groundwork for Cloud, which I thought was super clever. Not the part that he's a skinny 15-year-old boy, but everything else. But no, it got better. Like they finally, I think the series grew into its own with Kingdom Hearts 2, and then everything else that came after sort of felt a little more organic, with the exception of Kingdom Hearts 3DS, where they used the World Ends With You characters. which was kind of strange because it's like they're not like they're another Square Enix property, but like if we're opening it to that, then like what's going to happen in Kingdom Hearts 3? Is there going to be like some like Einhander stuff in there? Like how deep does the rabbit hole goes? How does it go?
Well, the World Ends With You is Nomura's baby as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So, like, all bets are off the table. So, yeah. So, we mentioned the protagonists earlier. Terra, Ventus, and Aqua, and all three of them are playable through multiple arcs in the game. Like, how did you find all three of them, first off?
I like immediately went to Aqua because, you know, one, like, hey, girl, she's not the first playable female in the series, but she's the first playable female in the series who has some agency, has all the agency over what she is doing. Like, she chooses to go after Ventus and Terra. She chooses, like, to every action she takes is not reactive. It's, you know, sort of proactive, and that she's chasing her friends, but she also makes decisions that will impact what happens later in the game and the whole series. Like, it's kind of her fault that all of this happened. And I'll get to that later. But I really liked that she was sort of a little bit more of a hard magic user. Like, she had a little bit more like oomph to her spells, and Terra was a little more like, I guess, like he had a stronger stats. Like, he just felt stronger. Like, he was taller. He was a little more tanky. So they all sort of played differently, and they all had different skills available to them. And each one of them had a different motive for doing what they did. And I think that really colored how I enjoyed each of their storylines. Like, Terra was trying to find himself, and Ventus was trying to, and figure out what's going on with Xehanort. And Ventus is going after Terra because he idolizes Terra and is finding himself as well, but also doesn't want Terra to find Xehanort. And then you have Aqua bringing up the rear, chasing them both, being like, oh, these stupid boys, what the hell am I going to do with them? And I really liked switching between those perspectives. I really did. I think it was clever. I think it was like you could start either storyline first. Like, the way they set it up was like, oh, you have like Terra's story, Aqua's story, and Ventus's story, and they all visit the same worlds, but they all do different things, and you'll see the after effect of like what someone else did in the world. You can play them out of order. So let's say you start with Aqua, who, if you like, the true way to play it is you start as Terra, and then you play as Ventus, and then you play as Aqua. But you can totally start as Aqua, but when you arrive at the planets, at the worlds, you're seeing events out of order. So you already sort of, you get there after Ventus and Terra have been there, and you see the effects. But then you go back and you play as Terra, and you see, oh, this is what he did to make this happen. So it's like really interesting. And I think it's like, some people like that kind of like time skippy setup, and some people don't, but I really liked the time skippy setup.
Like, can you jump in and out of each kind of character, or do you have to kind of start over again, so to speak?
You have to you play through one, and then you play through one person's story, and then you play through like the next person's story. Okay. And they're not terribly long, and then they all converge. Like, right at the end, it converges, and you're sort of in this one story that will automatically sort of switch you between perspectives when it needs you to.
Like, how long is each arc? It's roughly around 20 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. That is quite
if you're a completionist, yeah.
Oh, oof. That would take some doing. So you mentioned the preference of playing as Aqua, because like there is that kind of agency there. Like, she's chasing around Terra and Ventus, as in to say, oh, those boys, they're up to that mischief again, basically. But how did you find Terra and Ventus then? Terra is the brooding. Like, every one of these games, someone is brooding, and he's the brooder. So his story was very much like, oh man, I'm trying to find Xehanort because I think this is the right thing to do, but no, I don't know. So he was just like really, really like sort of back and forth. He did have some really fun moments with like the Disney characters. Like, you interact with them a lot, and like, I think my favorite thing from his story is like, you have an escort mission. You're escorting Cinderella through the woods to the ball because something happened to her friggin' carriage. So you're beating off like heartless and enemies while Cinderella from the movie is like holding up her skirt, like running behind you, and you have to like protect her.
And when you get to and it's kind of cute, and when you get to the castle, they have a conversation, and she's basically just like, "You're really sweet," or whatever, and he like bows and like motions for her, like he's like, "After you, madam," and he's like, he lets her into the castle and like just sort of watches her go and like watches her have her moment, and is just like, "Yeah, man, like I did something good," but like his story is peppered with like little moments like that, which I think is like super duper cute. There's another, Aqua has a moment where like Zach Fair hits on her and like tries to ask her out, and she's like, it's like super awkward, but also kind of cute. Ventus's story, I don't think I liked it because he looks like Roxas from Kingdom Hearts 2, and I fucking hate Roxas.
Oh dear. We'll touch upon all the Kingdom Hearts games in a few minutes. Yeah. Go on then, sorry.
Yeah, he's just like a whiny little pansy, and everything he does is reactive, and he's just stupid. He's just so stupid. Like, and he says dumb shit, and he's voiced by Jesse McCartney, which makes me hate him more because I hate Jesse McCartney's voice. And it's just like a big mash of like, God. Like, I got through his story because I had to. Like, there's interesting stuff that happens around him, but not like, and to him, but it's not like, it's like, oh, like this one cool thing happened. I wouldn't want to. I don't really like spending 20 hours with his whiny little ass, you know.
Oh Christ Almighty! I can only imagine what it'd be like having him around for what? How long? 20 hours? Oh God.
Yeah, 20 hours.
Oh Jesus! When you put it like that, it's like, how on earth do I manage to survive 20 hours with this whiny little shit?
Yep.
It is basically survival at that point.
Yes.
Worlds wise, like you mentioned Cinderella, but like there's also Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Hercules, Peter Pan, all sorts, and there's like a few other original worlds as well, like Land of Departure. Like what worlds from Birth by Sleep stood out for you?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Lilo and Stitch, so I really liked the Stitch level where you were like running around on the spaceship. Land of Departure had Master Ericus in it, and Master Ericus is voiced by Mark Hamill, and he did a really good job. So like, I liked hanging out with Asian Mark Hamill. I did like the setup in the Sleeping Beauty world a lot. I thought the final boss that Terra fights, which is essentially like the enchanted spinning wheel as a giant monster, was really interesting. Like, I really liked the way that battle played out. And then the end levels in the Keyblade Graveyard, I thought those boss battles were some of my favorite in the series. I thought they were really fun. I thought they were really challenging. Like, I didn't really expect stuff. Some of them are really heartbreaking. Like one of the fights after Xehanort possesses Terra's body, Xehanort in Terra's body is like running around like, I did it, and then Terra's mind or his spirit or some piece of Terra unhinges from his body and is left in his armor. So basically his ghost possesses his abandoned armor, and you as the armor fight Xehanort in your body.
I what?
Yeah, no, it sounds crazy, but it's really sad because it's like Terra saying like, I'm not going down without a fight. I made a mistake. I'm going to fight you. Like, I can't let it happen this way. So he possesses his armor and he fights to get his body back. And it's like, of course, like you win, but you don't. Like, there's a cutscene and shit goes south again. But like, he really fights for it and he loses, and it's tragic. And if you played the final mix version of Kingdom Hearts 2, which is now available in the US thanks to Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix for PS3, you can access the Keyblade Graveyard, and you can actually find Terra's possessed armor, and you can fight him. And he is an incredibly difficult optional boss. And when I first saw that video, like when Final Mix came out in Japan and the videos were popping up online of like, they called it the Lingering Will, and you had to go fight this possessed piece of armor. This final boss, the way that Kingdom Hearts is sort of set up is every game has an optional secret boss that alludes to the next game. And this optional secret boss in Kingdom Hearts 2 alluded to Birth by Sleep. And it was really creepy, being like, who is this guy? Is this a guy? And then you find out it's actually possessed armor, and it's very, very creepy. And then immediately following that, you fight as Aqua against possessed Terra, and it's really sad because she's like, "You're my friend and I love you, but you're not my friend anymore, so I have to kill you." And there's this big fight, and it's very tactically interesting. Those were like sort of, I'm a deep feeler, so I like feel really bad for these characters, and I get really invested in this story. So it was like a emotional gut punch coupled with a like, oh shit, I got to stay on my toes. Like this battle like has like 6 stages, and I have to make sure I don't get knocked out of the fight.
Just to kind of quickly jump back into the character side of things, we just talked about the pro tags, but like with Birth by Sleep, like none of the major Kingdom Hearts players, so to speak, show up, or at least they don't show up in any major way. Like there's no Sora, there's no Kairi, there's no Riku, at least not in any major ways. Like they only make kind of minor cameo appearances, isn't it?
Yes, they show up. There's like every single Terra, Aqua, and Ven all meet Sora, Riku, and Kairi as children on Destiny Islands. They like run into them and have conversations with them and sort of like foreshadow like, oh, like these kids are gonna have to clean up your mess, and it's like really sweet. The big bad is sort of explained in this game. Xehanort, who's the main villain of the entire Kingdom Hearts series, who you don't actually see until Birth by Sleep. Like you see his Nobody and his Heartless, which are the 2 pieces of him that have split. And even those are made from Terra's body, not from Xehanort's body. So the first time you actually see Xehanort and meet him and like learn his motives is in Birth by Sleep. Like it takes you 6 games to be told what the hell the bad guy wants. Like it's a very long game.
So do correct me if I'm wrong here, because like I said, it's been so long since I've played any of the Kingdom Hearts games. This is the first time, well actually no, it's not the first time, because Birth by Sleep doesn't have the Heartless and Nobodies as the enemy here. Like the kind of
no.
The main party here in terms of enemies is the Universed.
The Unversed.
Unversed, sorry, okay.
Which is stupid. It's really stupid. I mean, they could have used Heartless. They could have used, I mean, the Nobodies are like a big Kingdom Hearts 2 thing, but like they could have used the Heartless, but the Unversed are just like weird spirits like lingering around, and I think it's too much. Like that game would have been fine if you were just like Heartless are running around, and I would get it, but I think tacking another name onto them was weird and maybe not the best decision in terms of like universe continuity, because now you have 3 separate hordes of enemies, all with like 1,000 variations, all with 1,000 different rules of physical being that they follow, and it's just too much.
that kind of comes back to the kind of how do we say this, convoluted nature of the series.
Yes,
in a way.
Very convoluted,
very confused series, very confusing. So Birth by Sleep has a kind of tweaked battle system compared to the past games, because like from what I've played of Kingdom Hearts 1 back in the day and from the HD version, the battle system is very action based. In fact, this was actually the reason why, to an extent, like half the reason why I was very excited for what was then Final Fantasy Versus 13, now Final Fantasy 15, because the battle system for that game seemed very Kingdom Heartsy by nature, but put into a Final Fantasy setting, and that just like spoke out to me as like, yes, I want to play a Final Fantasy game like this. And not to mention the whole setting at the time as well, that was just like perfect. But like this battle system, it's very tweaked compared to it's tweaked anyways compared to past games in the series. Like, can you elaborate on how that went and how you found that kind of tweak?
I really like the cards, like sort of not the cards, but like the combining your spells and sort of putting like your own ability, like building your abilities. I really liked that. I felt like it was a lot more satisfying than just like, you learn Faraga, equip it. I thought it was a little more involved, and it took a little more strategizing to like build up your deck, or build up the amount of build up a loadout that you were comfortable with. And the more that you like look at spells and combine them and put them together, you can really, really build like some really powerful stuff. Like I think when I finished the game, I had like Terra had like 3 super high powerful spells that like would one hit kill everything in like a 10-foot radius. Like it was ridiculous. And I really felt playing Birth by Sleep with that system made me feel a lot more powerful and was a lot more satisfying than what was like in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, which was the, real time running around, equip some spells and like whack people around. I really enjoyed it.
And to associate with that as well, the deluxe system, like past games in the series, I know this much, like have allowed the player to kind of summon characters from Final Fantasy or on the Disney side of things to help out in battle, but like with the D-Link system it was a bit more different. Like elaborate on that as well, and how did you find it as well?
I thought it was a lot. I like keeping track of a lot of stuff. Like I really like that it went that deep. I never really used the summons in previous Kingdom Hearts games because it was just like, oh, Mushu showed up and then kicked someone in the face. Like it wasn't, they never really did anything for me, and I never really found them particularly effective, which is why I think part of the reason I like Birth by Sleep's battle system better is because it refined what came before and just made it, a little more deeper and a little more effective. Like I used it a lot, and I think it's one of the things that makes that game's combat particularly special. I see, all the footage for Kingdom Hearts 3, and I like it. I'm excited for it. And sometimes in the footage, like something will pop up in like the ability section, or I'll see something like hanging out in like the corner of the screen, and I'm like, oh, is this gonna are they like adopting from Birth by Sleep? Like, are they gonna remix that, or are they working with like the 3DS system, which was awful? And then they have these like the carnival rides, and I wonder if they will function similar to that. We'll see. I hope they do, because I thought that system was great. So.
I want to touch upon something that just came in my head about Kingdom Hearts 3, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Birth by Sleep introduced... Well, it didn't introduce multiplayer because that was 358 by 2 days, but it had the inclusion of local multiplayer via ad hoc on the PSP. Like, did you play multiplayer at all?
No, I think I tried it once, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I got really... It wasn't satisfying. It was like you battling another person's character. I never really felt the need to do it, and it didn't really reward me at all. So I did it like a couple times when it first came out with like some friends of mine, and I was like, no. So I just don't touch it. I don't really care.
Fair enough. No,
that game is a single player game.
Fair enough. No, the way I read of how multiplayer works in that game, it just basically reminds me of... Would it be right to say it would be reminiscent of an MMO raid, so to speak?
Kind of. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. You mentioned at the top of when we started out talking about Kingdom Hearts, like there's plenty of themes about the series, and Birth by Sleep, one of the themes for Birth by Sleep was learning about identity. Like how did you find learning of these themes, like identity, like friendship, especially more so considering like there are these kind of three people like tied together by friendship?
I think what it all boils down to sort of Aqua's story, because like Ventus was like not helpful at all, and Terra went and like sort of muddied everything up. But with Aqua, what I took away from her was like, don't give up on people, and like I don't, and sometimes it backfires. Like people just don't, they want you to give up on them, but like I took away from her is like she never gave up on Terra, she never gave up on Ventus, and like to the end she was like, I'm gonna get you out of here, this isn't impossible to fix, like you're not lost to me. And even when she was like fighting against him, and like he was like the cutscene, like the famous cutscene of him like reaching out and just grabbing her by the throat and like hauling her into the air, and she's like choking and like trying to get out of his grip, and like even at that point she's still like, hey, like it's me, like stop, this is awful, like I'm gonna bring you home, and it totally sucks. And in the end, she sacrifices herself. Like they fall into darkness, and she's using her armor and her like little jetpack to like try and get out, like to go back up towards the light, and it's not holding them. So she literally like removes her armor, like puts it with Terra, like connects Terra to her armor, and sends them up, and they leave, and she like stays in the darkness. And like she has her own game coming up. I think it's coming out later this year, like Kingdom Hearts 2.8, which is like a short game following her after she sacrifices herself. And like she went the extra mile to try and make sure that everyone was okay, and at the expense of herself. So I think there's a lot that people can take away from not giving up on people. Granted, it started a whole mess, and it started the events of Kingdom Hearts 1, and like the whole reason Sora and Riku were dealing with the shit to begin with is because she let Terra go, and she saved him despite being possessed. But I think there's a lot to unpack there, and I think it's like a really sweet message.
I can totally get that when you put it like that, and it's kind of, when you say it like that, like those themes of the game, it kind of makes me want to play them again. Like
you should.
For all the convoluted nature of the series, and because it's been so long since I've properly invested myself into the series, like when you mention of the themes that we've just said, like it really makes me want to go back and play it now and actually, immerse myself again.
You should.
If this all goes tits up though, I'm blaming you. So,
sorry.
You will be blamed for this if this all goes wrong. So yeah, other Hearts games, like I guess you can go from there, because like I have no dog in this fight, with the exception of one. Even then I basically gave up after the world on Halloween, the night before Christmas.
Oh my god, I love the Night Before Christmas worlds. Oh god, I love the Night Before Christmas, and there's just something really awesome about like beating up Oogie Boogie with like Jack Skellington next to you. I love those worlds. Are probably some of my favorites.
Well, to be fair, I kind of invested myself in the world when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 1. When I was when was I at the time? I was 11 when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, so 11, 12 around that period. And the only world I was looking forward to playing when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 1 was 100 Acre Wood, because I'm such a Winnie the Pooh fanboy. Even now, I'm 25 and I still fucking adore Winnie the Pooh. Honest to God, no word of a lie, I've sitting next to me plushies of Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Eeyore and Rabbit.
God,
I adore Winnie the Pooh. I loved the late 80s cartoon that came out. Like I'll go back to YouTube every once in a while and just watch the cartoons. And there's a cartoon like that sticks out for me. It's all the guys or all the gang are basically Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin has to kind of dog sit a neighbour's dog, but then for one reason or another, the dog is basically with them, and the dog goes missing, and they have to go find the dog, and they end up at a supermarket. And the one moment that stands out from that is, and for more or less Winnie the Pooh, is Tigger getting on the supermarket's PA system, because the dogs just kind of found themselves, and the gang have just basically found themselves in the supermarket because the dogs just found themselves in the supermarket. Anyways, but I digress. Tigger somehow gets on the PA system and goes, "Squawky! Squawky!" And
oh my god!
Like I know we're getting away from the Kingdom Hearts, but like it's one of those reasons why I love Winnie the Pooh, because it's like I can just find it so endearingly charming even after this long. And like when I was playing Kingdom Hearts, I was just like, give me 100 Acre Wood, give me 100 Acre Wood, give me 100 Acre Wood. It's just like, and when I've got in there, it's like just yeah. That was my highlight for Kingdom Hearts 1 for me.
Oh.
I love that silly old bear. But yeah, other Hearts games, like that was where I jumped off one, and the night before Christmas. But like, how did you kind of find the other games in the series, like 2, 358 / 2 days and all that there?
I think 2 is my second favorite one. 2 sort of has the like Assassin's Creed 2 thing going for it, where like enough had happened in the series that like they were able to pull off something really great. Like they had refined it by that point. The first game, obviously, super big place in my heart. The other ones, like 358 over 2 days, was fine. I really like the Organization 13 characters, so I played it for that and for story. Coded was stupid because it was basically like trolling through, like the whole thing was like Mickey is like going through the data of Sora's memory or Jiminy's journal. I can't remember because it was so stupid, but like he's plugging through data, like trying to figure out something. So it like takes this weird sci-fi turn. And 358 over 2 days was good. The 3DS game, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, is my absolute least favorite in the series. It is trash. It is garbage. It is a Pokemon ripoff, and I just generally hated it. Like, it was awful. It was the first game. It was my first professional game review. It was my first review for Polygon.com in the summer of 2012. And oh my God, do I hate that game. I will never replay it. I hate it. It's the only one I have not replayed, and I will not replay it because the story was stupid. It was a lot of filler. It was a lot of narrative filler that could have been packed into like the previous game or didn't really need to be its own game. And it introduced time travel to the Kingdom Hearts narrative, and I wanted to tear my hair out and scream.
Christ, as if I couldn't get convoluted enough.
Time travel. First there was like travel between worlds. So there's different worlds and you travel between them. Physics, don't need to know. Then with Kingdom Hearts 2, it introduced, in addition to Heartless, there's actually a nobody. So a person can split into two things. And it also introduced it introduced that. And then with 358 over 2 days, and with Chain of Memories, they introduced the ability to replicate a person. So like in 358 over 2 days, you had Shion, who was a replica of Sora, but she was still a complete person, but she was built out of memories. In Chain of Memories, you had Riku replica, who was a replica of Riku, built out of Riku's memories. So you have all these abilities to create life, which one is super unnerving, and two, why? And then by the time you get to Birth by Sleep, you have the whole ability to possess people and then split their body and move. In addition to worlds, there's like the light worlds and the dark world. And then all these other worlds and these tunnels. And then you get to 3D, and 3D introduces time travel. And I had it. Like when I got to that point in the game, when they revealed that like here's a thing is happening because of time travel. This guy, like, basically, I don't know, I don't want to ruin it. If I want to, fine, I'll just say it. But like, what you find out is that in 3D, you're being terrorized by this dude who is young. He's younger than you, and he has white hair, and he looks like Xehanort, and you're like, who is this guy? What is he doing? And at the end of the game, you find out that he is Xehanort from the past, but who traveled from the past to the future to harass you because Xehanort in the future traveled to the past to tell his younger self, hey dude, this is what you gotta do. So you find out that the bad guy like broke all the rules of time travel. Doctor Who would be going insane, broke every rule of time travel and any sense of narrative cohesion to basically make himself the bad guy. And it's like, where does it end? Like, there is no end and no beginning because it's just this one guy time traveling and screwing everything up. And when they introduced that, like, it retconned a ton of series lore, like overturned a bunch of stuff that we had just figured out and just uncomplicated it and made it more complicated. And I was just like, fuck this. I don't know how Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to tie that all together. But you have the whole people splitting thing and the time travel and the possession, and then the ability to create people out of data and also enter and manipulate data, like in a computer, like go into a computer and manipulate data. What are they going to do? What's happening? Are we going to find out that like Sora is his own grandfather or something? Like I don't know. Like I don't know where it goes from there. Like it's so like I'm obviously excited for the game and I love the story and I love the characters, but man, what the fuck? So 3D kind of like, I like to pretend, like I've been pretending for the longest time that 3D doesn't exist. Kingdom Hearts 3D does not exist, and just operating under the principles of all the other games. But like when 3 comes out, I'm probably going to have to play it again, and I'm just like, oh my god, please.
You're probably going to have to
please
play it
no.
Again. You're going to have to
play
it again. Like, especially now it's coming to PS4. You're going to have to play it again.
Yeah, man. Ugh.
Like, is there nothing redeeming of Dream Drop Distance?
No.
Nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
There's a couple of really interesting boss battles, but other than that, there's not really anything. Like there's one where you're like Sora like screws up, so you play as Riku and you're fighting. You fight Xehanort as Riku, and then you fight him as Sora. And there's like all these floating buildings. Like it's a really interesting. It provides a really interesting battlefield for your enemy to sort of hide and get the jump on you. But you can also do the same if you like listen to audio cues and sort of like stay on your toes. Like it requires a lot of like really quick, like really fast reactions. Like Kingdom Hearts boss battles have always been difficult as hell, but I think 3DSs are the hardest.
Oh god. It's like 1 minute you can get me into the series by talking about its themes of friendship and identity and never giving up, and when you put it like that just now, it's like, nope, fuck this, I'm washing my hands of this, I'm not even going to try and get into this.
Yep.
What's the
Just
point?
ignore it.
What's the point?
I'm sure, like, people, like, YouTube is great because there are people out there that have taken, like, all the cutscenes in the game and cut them into, like, a movie, like a 3.5 hour movie where you can just watch the story and not deal with anything. I would do that.
That sounds like the best option. That sounds like the absolute best option. Although, that being said, I do still have 1.5 HT somewhere, so I might give that a whack sometime, and if that goes well, maybe we'll see about 2.5. One step at a time. One step at a time. The first taste is always the deepest. So, going back to Birth by Sleep then, like, what else did you like about it that we've not touched upon tonight?
I really like the music. Like, I think my favorite theme in all of Kingdom Hearts, thank you Yoko Shimomura, is a theme called Rage Awakened, and we first hear it in Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, when Sora fights Terra's possessed armor, the lingering sentiment optional boss battle. We hear it again when you, as your possessed armor, as Terra's possessed armor, fight Xehanort in your body. Like, that is Terra's battle theme. And Terra's story is so tragic. Like, he did the whole freaking Anakin Skywalker fall from grace. Like, it's tragic. Like, Terra's story is very, very tragic, and some part of Terra, wherever he is in the universe, is like still trying to, make up for what he's done and for giving his body and his power over to this like very evil man. But that's his theme. Rage Awakened is his theme, and every major theme in Kingdom Hearts, like everything that's not like in a Disney World, every battle theme, every boss battle theme has there's like a narrative continuity with like the melody. So like in Ventus's theme, you hear a lot of Roxas's theme because Roxas is Ventus basically, and Rage Awakened carries a lot of significance because it's Terra's theme, and it also has that crazy violin going, which is like Shimomura's like signature stamp. Aqua's theme has a lot of like themes from past games running through it. Like, there is a continuity. Like, you can, when you hear, I don't know, I've gotten to the point where like my shuffle will like kick up a boss battle from Birth by Sleep using the same like secondary melody that's used in Kingdom Hearts 2 when you fight Xemnas, but I'll know like, oh, this is the Xehanort battle theme from Birth by Sleep because it has this, and this in it. Like Shimomura tells a story with the music, to the point where like if you are familiar with all the different variations, you can pick out, this is this boss battle. Oh, this is who I'm fighting. I love Rage Awakened, and I didn't realize that Rage Awakened was my favorite until I realized that I was obsessed with it, which happened after E3 last year. So I do this awful thing. I hope no game publishers are listening, but we get to E3, like we have a media suite like up on the top floor. And we had exhibitor badges because we have a booth. And if you have an exhibitor badge, you can go out on the show floor at any time. The day before E3, when they were still setting up booths and doing sound tests, I took my exhibitor badge, put on a pair of high heels to look like I was important and should be there, and I went for a walk on the show floor to see if there were any secrets, because I don't like surprises. So I went for a walk, and I was with one of our other editors, and we were like just taking a stroll out. The booths were all like covered, and we were like, oh, we're not going to see anything, whatever. But we were getting like a lay of the land, so we knew where to go like the next day. And we were walking. We're like at the back of one of the auditoriums, and the Square Enix booth is in the front of that auditorium. And all of a sudden, Rage Awakened kicks up, and I'm like, And I'm like, that's from Birth by Sleep. Why are they playing a song from Birth by Sleep? Why are they playing Terra's theme? And I like literally took off in my heels. I took off, and my other editor is like, where are you going? And I'm like running full speed in heels down this hallway I'm like, are they going to show a trailer? Are they going to show a Kingdom Hearts trailer at E3? Like that had to be what it is. But they're sound testing with Rage Awakened, and I was like, oh my god, maybe they're maybe Terra is in Kingdom Hearts 3, or maybe something linked to Terra is in Kingdom Hearts 3 if they're using Rage Awakened as the trailer song. So I like go back to the media suite and I like burst open the doors and I'm like, there's gonna be a Kingdom Hearts trailer. I heard it. I heard this song. And like one other person, God bless her, Lucy James, our host.
I know of Lucy James, and I know of her obsession with Kingdom Hearts.
God bless her. I'm like, they were playing Rage Awakened, and she's the only one who's like, oh my god. Like she's the only person who got it. And I was just like, yay, someone understands why I'm freaking out. Yeah, and they did show a trailer that used Rage Awakened, but like the use of themes for trailers and for whatever, they are significant. So I am obsessed with that song, and the fact that it was used for a trailer, I think means that something in Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to, like, either Sora will find Terra or Terra will do something, but I think that's a serious foreshadowing. And I think that because of the masterful way that Yoko Shimomura has orchestrated like the story in all of her tracks. Mm-hmm. That was a long explanation.
It's a good explanation. I can kind of get along with that explanation. I quite like that explanation because of how passionate it was. So what else? Sorry, not what else. Like, what didn't you like about Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep? Like, you touched upon a few there as we've gone along.
I don't like Ventus. I just think he's a shitty character. I don't really like him at all. I think the whole thing, like where they split him, like they love splitting people, like taking a person and being like, here is the embodiment of all of your darkness, and they are a separate person with a separate name, but they are actually part of you. Like Kingdom Hearts loves doing that, and Birth by Sleep was the first game to take like Ventus and take all of his darkness and make it into a separate person who's just angry all the time, called Vanitas. And Vanitas, surprise, looks exactly like Sora but with black hair. So I didn't really like the use of like, oh, here are all these people that are made up of things that can't make up an actual physical person, but they all look like each other. Why do they all look like each other? Like, it's really... And like, there's a reason for it, but the reason is like so convoluted and stupid, and it requires you to go all the way back to like the first game and like trace like who was doing what where and who had whose heart to figure out why this happened. And I'm like, this is too much. This is too much now. Just give me like 3 people that stay people. We don't have to like add on all of the extra stuff. But that part frustrated me.
So yeah, we've touched upon it a few times as we've gone through this, and just then in that long, passionate Shimomura pitch, so to speak, Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh well, technically 2.8 comes first, and then 3.
Oh my God.
Like, I remember just 3 years ago, like, just sitting up for the Sony presser, where this was 2 years before the Year of Dreams came to formation with Final Fantasy VII, Shenmue, and Last Guardian. 2 years before that, the Year of Dreams consisted of Final Fantasy Versus 13 being re-announced as 15, and Kingdom Hearts 3 being announced. And I was happy to see Final Fantasy Versus 13 there, but I knew right away, like, yeah, they're going to re-announce this as 15, and it's going to be PS4. And then Nomura came back on video and said, I have one more game to show you. And then I'm like, okay, whatever. I still hadn't clued on that it was Kingdom Hearts at all. Although to be fair, it was around 3 o'clock in the morning at that time in the UK. So I was probably exhausted at that point. But anyways, I hadn't clued on it was Kingdom Hearts. So like, okay, whatever. Show me the game, and then once the Disney logo came up, I was like, oh, okay, oh, fuck.
Yeah, we were in the war room. I was still at Polygon, and we were in the war room, and I kicked my chair. I stood up and kicked my chair back, and I was like, no! And I just like started crying. I cry at the drop of a hat, and I just was like, oh my God, and I'm teary-eyed, and everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then last year, when they showed the footage, like the combat footage, and like the Erika Xehanort trailer, I was sitting next to Tim Geddes, who's also a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, and we're sitting in the war room, and I'm just like completely tense and like not breathing, and like my hands are over my face. Someone took a picture because I guess I looked absolutely ridiculous, but I looked like someone had just shot me. Like it was awful and great, but yeah, no, those announcements are such gut punches.
Even I was fanboying out a bit, and like I said, I have not touched Kingdom Hearts since the first one. I've not touched a Kingdom Hearts game other than the first one, but even I was kind of marking out for that, the old wrestling expression for being excited. But, but yeah, I mean, I love those kind of announcements. What are your kind of hopes and dreams and fears for free?
Time travel. I don't like it. I really hope they find a way to like tie that in, because they're throwing in the like, hey, yeah, time travel like was just too much. It's too much on too much on too much on too much. I really hope. I mean, I also don't like Sora. Like this is like my deep dark secret about Kingdom Hearts is I don't like Sora. I think I think he's a blank. I mean, I don't hate him. I just don't like him. Like, I think he's a blank protagonist. He doesn't grow. He doesn't learn anything. He's just like, I'm Sora, and I'm going to save everybody. And he just kind of like that. He has one speed, and it's like hyperactive, do-goody anime character. And I just think he's uninteresting. Like, I'm way more interested in like, and I realize that he's blank because he's the player character, and you sort of have to help everyone around you, and it's sort of your moment to project onto Sora. But he doesn't learn anything, and there's so much story in these games, and there's so much going on with everyone else. Like, I just think, like, give him something. Like, at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3D, he fails. Like, he fails they're taking like a Keyblade exam or something, and Xehanort like knocks him out and is like, all right, I'm gonna possess you, you're mine now. And Sora like gives into like doubt and just gives up, and Riku has to save him, and Riku passes the Keyblade exam and becomes like the Keyblade master. I have this theory, and it's a very popular theory, that Riku is actually the protagonist of those Kingdom Hearts games, and every single like all the games leading up to this have been like a setup. Like it's like Sora being the playable character is a red herring. Like this is Riku's story. He's way more interesting. He struggles with the whole like darkness, ate my soul, and then I conquered it and learned how to use my weakness as my greatest strength. My greatest weakness is my greatest strength. And just like redemption, like he has a fall from grace and he struggles to redeem himself, and he goes through a lot, and he learns a lot about himself and about other people. He learns to rely on other people. Like that's something that like I am still dealing with, but it's like he's so self-sufficient and so obsessed with being strong, and then finally he falls and he comes back from it and it's like, shit, like I got to get myself in order. I need to take care of me and learn to like me before I can learn to like and care for other people. So he does that, and he has this whole big journey, and Kingdom Hearts 3 begins where he's learned all that. So he's taking what he's learned. He's become a whole person and figured his shit out. And now he's going out into the world. And I really hope we get to play as him in some significant way. All the trailers have shown are Sora. And I'm really hoping we get to play as Riku. I really hope we don't see Kairi a lot, because I think Kairi is like one of the worst female characters ever created in video games. She's not interesting. She's an object. She doesn't really have any function. I really hope we see more of Axel, who's my favorite. Well, he's Lee now, whatever. But he's my favorite organization member, and he's really sassy, and I really like him. And I just hope that everything gets wrapped up. Like this series has been building towards some sort of cataclysmically crazy, amazing thing. And every single game, Nomura and company step up the game with the final boss sequence. Like in the first game, it's like you fight, there's like a 2-step thing. In Kingdom Hearts 2, it's a 4-stage boss battle. In Birth by Sleep, it's like a string of like 6 or 7 really epic battles. And 3DS had another like 4-stage boss battle where you were Sora, then you were Riku, and then you were Sora, and like it was pretty crazy. So I'm hoping that Kingdom Hearts 3 has some sort of like cataclysmic, like earth-shattering, mind-blowing, crazy final boss design, because those games have always done that well.
What are your hopes then for the world of Kingdom Hearts? Because obviously it's a big part of the series, and like with Kingdom Hearts 3, like it's been since the last numbered game, like 10 years as of recording last anime, it's like a lot has happened with Disney anime. It's like it's acquired Pixar, it's acquired Marvel, it's acquired Lucasfilm. Like there's Star Wars. We've already had Tangled announced, Big Hero 6 announced. Like, what are your kind of hopes going into it in terms of the worlds?
I really wanted Big Hero 6. I loved Big Hero 6, and when they announced, I was at D23 when they announced that, and like I knew that announcement was coming, but like seeing it and having them explain what it was amazing. I really want a Frozen world. I know I'm not the only one who wants this. I loved Frozen, despite people saying that, you know, it is not as good as Tangled, but I love it. And like, come on, like we need a world where like you're Sora and you're running around with freaking Elsa shooting ice at people, and like I just loved that world of Frozen. So I really hope we get Frozen. I really hope they bring. I don't know if they can do anything else with it, but like they did Old Tron in Kingdom Hearts 2.
They did Legacy and Dream Drop Distance, and I knew that much because I was fucking obsessed with Legacy. I love Legacy. I know it has its faults, but I adore Tron Legacy so much. I love that movie.
Yeah, I didn't like how they did Legacy in 3DS, but I really like Tron. Oh my god. I mean, I really hope we get like they have to do a Star Wars world. They have to.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question.
They have to, and like E3 would be the place to reveal. Like Star Wars fever is at an all-time high.
Yeah,
they should. Like there's Kingdom Hearts content in Disney Infinity. Like Disney has embraced that Kingdom Hearts exists and that it's doing a thing. Like I really think that they would put a world in. However, I don't think it's going to be. And it's going to be the film. I don't think it's going to be any of the films. Like, if it's going to be any of the films, it might be Force Awakens in some capacity, although I'm not entirely sure that they would do that because Star Wars is, like, too serious. Like, I think that they would do a world based on, like, Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels. And because Star Wars Rebels is the hot thing right now, I think if they do a Star Wars world, it's going to be Rebels, not the films. That's my theory. I will put good money on it that it's a world based in Star Wars Rebels.
I've been thinking when you put it like that, maybe like Star Wars for me, like I can honestly see them doing Kingdom Hearts. It has to, like it's leaving money on the table if they don't, obviously. But like the way I think of it is this, like surely they've got to have John Boyega in there.
Yeah, he'd do it. He's like a so into all of that stuff. Like he would totally be the first to raise his hand and be like, I want to be in Kingdom Hearts.
I can just picture him being in it, and I just go like, yes, let's do it. Sure, he was tweeting the other day about Battlefront and the lack of single player in it. I can honestly see him being it.
Yeah,
it'd be fantastic. It's just to completely jump back into Birth by Sleep then, which is 2.8 final chapter prologue. Dear God, can we actually finally talk about how obscenely stupid these tales are sometimes? Good.
I don't get it.
God.
It's bad. It's pretty bad. I don't know why. They're very long. Like it's very like I understand that they want to keep like Kingdom Hearts : in the title.
No, yeah, sure, yeah.
The way that they deal, like, so the way that Square Enix deals with numbered titles, I don't know how many people know this. So the way that Square Enix deals with numbered titles is they slap a number on a Final Fantasy game or a Kingdom Hearts game or whatever. They slap a number on it when they feel that game is the like highest evolved form of their technology and narrative. Like it is the final form of what they can provide with the tools that they have right now, which is why Chain of Memories and 358 over 2 days and Kingdom Hearts 3D and Birth by Sleep all came out on handheld hardware because they were not like the pinnacle of technical achievement for them and they weren't supposed to. They carry a lot of narrative significance, which kind of sucks because I know a lot of people that only played 1 and 2. Like I had a friend who played 2, didn't know Chain of Memories existed, and was just like, what the hell is going on? Like you can get seriously lost in Kingdom Hearts 2 if you haven't played Chain of Memories or don't know what's going on because there's no recap. Like you don't get a recap. So the fact that this is Kingdom Hearts 3 and it's taking so long means that it is like the final form of what they can do with the tech that they have right now. And they're using Unreal. They're not even using the Square Enix engine anymore. They're using Unreal.
Yeah, not even using Luminous.
No, Luminous. Oh my God, Luminous is a bit of a mess. But yeah, so this is like the fact that it's Kingdom Hearts 3 means that it is the highest form of technology, which is why I imagine they slapped 15 instead of Versus 13 onto that game, because technology evolved. They got the PlayStation 4 hardware and they said, you know what, we're going to go all in, and this is going to be a main numbered entry because it's not going to be a spin-off title. This is going to be like a all no holds barred all in mainline title, which is why they take so long. It sucks that, you know, we're getting another side story. It kind of bugs me because we're very clearly at the point in the narrative where it's like, okay, we're ready for Kingdom Hearts 3 and we know you're working on it and this could all be in one game and it's fine. But the fact that we're getting like a second prologue is like, come on. Or a third prologue. Between Kingdom Hearts 2, you have Birth by Sleep, Coded, and 3DS. So that's 3 games between, narratively, that came out, whatever, between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. And now we're getting a 4th one, and it's frustrating. Not to mention, it's, you know, named stupidly as well, but it's very frustrating as a fan. And like I talk to fans all the time. Like I'm, you know, crawling in those forums secretly, not saying anything, but like we are disappointed. Like we want that game. Like we don't want any more, and we don't want any more prologues. We'll take it. Like we'll take it and we'll play it and we'll love it because that's the kind of people we are. But it's too much. It's getting to be too much.
Oh god. By the way, for those wondering what that title is for this upcoming prologue, Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage. Yeah, Dear sweet Jesus.
Kingdom Hearts 0.2, and then 2.8 is the remixed 3DS, which is like it's like, how many points can we? Because they did like for the remakes, for the HD remakes, they did Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Stop! Like just. If you want to put numbers on it, you can. There will be 10 games out, I think, by the time 3 comes out. Oh, and it's not even the last Kingdom Hearts game. Like, they want to make another series with new characters.
Oh, Christ.
But this will end it. Honestly, like, I want Kingdom Hearts 3 to be amazing, and I want it to end. I think it's time for this story to end, and it will be a beautiful, like, some things are beautiful because they're done and they're whole. I think this is one of those things that can't be dragged out. So I will be sad, but pretty happy when it's completed.
So yeah, on fragmentary passage, which is stupidly long. It does take place after Birth by Sleep. It does take place with the perspective of Aqua, with the events unfolding of Birth by Sleep. Like, just talk of how your feelings are for that going into it, because like besides the fact that it does take place by Birth by Sleep and it sets up events for Kingdom Hearts 3, it's more or less also kind of a gameplay test for the system, the battle system in 3.
Yep, pretty much. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't need a gameplay test, just give it to me. But I like that I get to play as Aqua again. Aqua's very interesting, a very interesting character, so I'm really excited to get more time with her.
Top 3 Kingdom Hearts games. How would you rank them in your top 3? Obviously, Birth by Sleep at the top, but how would you fill out the rest of the top 3?
Birth by Sleep 2, 1.
Very, very easy to put
yes.
like that. Like, go into a little detail as to why you put 2 and 1 in there.
Well, 2 is very close. Like 2 is very close for me. Like 2 and Birth by Sleep, I think, are like neck and neck, but Birth by Sleep edges it out a little bit just because it's a little more. I like some of the combat a little more and the bosses a little bit more in the story. But 1, like Kingdom Hearts 1 was just like, even for like all its faults and all of its like weirdness, it was just so good. Like no game has ever really done that before. Like it's not a kid's game, but it's also not like an adult's game. It's like a children's story for adults and like an adult story for kids. It's like this weird intangible thing. You have Mickey Mouse and Sephiroth, and like the battle system was like doing something a little bit new at the time. You're running around with like Donald and Goofy, and you have all these Final Fantasy characters running around. Like that game scratched an itch for the weird people like me who like grew up on Disney and adore Disney, but who also like video games and also really love Final Fantasy. And it sort of put that all into this like really weird package that asked you a lot of questions about like friendship and finding yourself and the nature of goodness and helping people. And you don't really realize that you're thinking about the nature of goodness until you get to like, you know, the latter third of the game where you're like, oh, he's just doing this because he's not pure evil. He's got like a thing he's doing, but I just don't want him to do it. Like, it's very, very strange. And for that reason, I just adore it. And I think 1 has to be on my top 3 list.
Because that's the introduction of it all. And because of the fact that, like, it was bringing you and your bros together.
Oh, yeah. That came, I don't know. I'm thinking about it right now and I'm just getting lost in thought. But we are 27, 22, 23. He just turned 23. He's turning 23 soon, and 18 now. And we are all like super duper close, and like we're all adults now, and we all look back on it and we're just like, oh, haha. Like, I got 2.5 HD remix for my middle brother for his birthday for Christmas. And he's been playing through that because he hadn't played Birth by Sleep because he didn't have a PlayStation Portable. So he's like enjoying that for the first time right now. But yeah, like that game, like sort of like fixed my family in like a really weird way, and we're still fine. So thank you, Kingdom Hearts.
and now it all comes full circle with free.
Oh my god, we have this pact. I don't know. I mean, if like I'm taking off like a week when that game comes out or when I get it or whatever, but we made a promise that like wherever the hell I am in the world, like my brother's in Boston, one is in Boston, one is in Connecticut, and then I'm out here. So wherever I am, like I am going home and we are playing this game together. Like there's no other way I would rather do it. So like that's my launch plan whenever this game comes out. I'm just taking time off and going home and we're all going to play.
That's the sweetest thing. I love
that.
Yeah. Honorable mentions. Go for it.
I gotta shout out to Final Fantasy VI. I love Final Fantasy VI. It is the best Final Fantasy. I think that's all the explanation it needs. Closely followed by Final Fantasy IX. Yeah, I'm a big freaking nerd. Fire Emblem Fates, probably my most recent game to make my favorites game list. I really like, I explained it earlier, but I'm a big fan of Fire Emblem, and I think Fates is like the perfect entry series for new people, and the story was really heartfelt and emotional, and I really liked it. I even like the melodrama. I love that melodrama. And then number 5, I really like Valkyrie Profile, and nobody ever talks about this game. It's like old Enix, like before it merged with Square, and it's an RPG about like a Valkyrie basically recruiting Einherjar for the end of the world. And there's like some other sinister shit going on, like cloning and like reincarnation, and it's totally convoluted and weird, but the battle system is really unique, which is why I like it so much.
So like let's jump into a little bit more detail. Final Fantasy VI, then, like, jump into that a little bit as to why that game means so much to you.
It's got to be the story. Like that game was the first. I think it's out of all the games of its generation, it does the best with its text-based storytelling. Like you don't have like you can't see any facial expressions. Like nothing is happening. Like there's no like cool graphics, and everything you get is just from text and just from like thinking. Like there's a couple of moments in that game, like the opera scene is one of I think the most beloved video game scenes in history. Like you can't talk about 6 without talking about the opera. Like Nobuo Uematsu wrote a friggin' opera, and that you play. You had to memorize the lyrics and then do the show, and like it was just really, really sweet. And like you didn't know if she was singing about if Celis was singing as the character, if she was singing to Locke. Like it was very, very sweet. One of my favorite nonsense characters in video games is in that game, Go-Go, who's just a mime, and he just mimics attacks, and he has like 3 minutes of story content, but he's there anyway, and it's like really, really funny. So for the story and the characters, the same thing for Final Fantasy IX story and characters. I think my favorite Final Fantasy character ever created is Quinn, the androgynous, like weird swamp creature that eats. She's a she or he is a blue mage who learns attacks by eating monsters, and then they learn the monsters attack. And Quinnet has a bunch of really great quotes that like I think everyone can like take inspiration from. My favorite being, there are only two things in this world: things you can eat and things you know can eat, which is my favorite quote in like all of video game history. And there's a lot, again, that game deals with a lot of messages like self-identity, like the meaning of life, and like the like self-purpose, like why am I here, what am I doing, like do I do good with the little time I have, like is it worth it, like stuff like that. It gets very existential and very upsetting, and I love it. Fire Emblem Fates, like all my reviews are up on like GameSpot.com if you want to go read them, but I really like the relationship system, and I really like how challenging it is and how just like tactically interesting and intricate it gets. Like it's a lot to memorize, but if you're the kind of person that likes having a lot of like heavy stuff to juggle when you're doing like combat in a game, like this is the game for you. Valkyrie Profile is just weird and old. Like it's probably like I have like an old like PS1 copy that like can't run on my PS3 anymore. But it's just like so old and so strange and unique and like so good. It's just impossible to not like just think about it once in a while or pick it up. If you haven't picked it up, like you should. Don't play the PSP version. They changed a bunch of stuff. But if you can get your hands on like a PlayStation 1 copy, which currently will run you like $100 because it's not in print anymore, and super rare, yeah, then I highly recommend you try and play it.
I'll be honest, I actually bought the PSP version a few years ago, waiting for a flight out to Dublin, because like I live on the northern side of Ireland, and I had to get a plane from where I am to the Republic of Ireland to Dublin, because I had to get a flight to France for a Bethesda press event for their pre-E3 thing they were holding that year, because like there was the year after they held it all as one event, so it was worldwide press, but at the time they had two events. They had one for US press in Vegas, I think it was. This was around the time Fallout New Vegas was coming out, and the other one in Europe for European press, just in the outskirts of Paris. But anyways, I digress. I bought the game for my PSP on a whim, because I just figured this kind of seems interesting. Like I just figured, why not? So I bought it. But I've yet 6 years to the day, not to the day, but 6 years since I've bought it, I've still not played it.
Oh my gosh! Play it
to my eternal shame. Oh, to be fair, I think you can play it now on PS Vita TV, can you not?
Maybe. I know that they're discontinuing the PlayStation TV,
yeah,
the PS TV. So,
I must see if I can play it on PS TV. Oh, well, to be fair, when I got my PS TV, the only reason I got a PS TV was for Persona 4 Golden.
Oh my god!
And I love Persona 4 Golden. I do. And it was the only game. It is the only game that made me want to go out and buy a small micro box for it.
Wow.
Like it was, and you know what the sad thing is, it was £80 when I bought it a few weeks before Christmas 2014, and then, or was it at the start of last year? I can't remember. But anyways, it was £80. Bought it for Persona 4 Golden. No regrets, except for one. A few weeks later, it dropped in half in price.
Oh no!
And I was like, why? Why are you torturing me like this? Why? But whatever. I bought it for Persona 4 Golden. No regrets. Like I loved Persona 4 on PlayStation 2, and I just loved playing Persona 4 Golden on the Vita itself. But I just got stuck on both versions. But I needed an excuse to play it on the big TV again, and PS TV was it. And I finally, after so long, managed to finally finish Persona 4 recently, and like it was already in my top 10 games ever, even though I had not actually finished it. But like now that I actually have finished it, now that I actually I can say I have actually finished it, it solidifies it. I fucking adore Persona 4 Golden. I really do. I love the best. But Yeah, I digress. Because I could talk all day about Persona 4 Golden and how amazing it is and how everyone should go and play it because it is one of the best RPGs from the past decade. But I digress. I could talk all day about Persona 4 Golden. Top 3 games ever. What would they be? Birth by Sleep at the top, obviously, but how would you fill up the top 3?
Birth by Sleep, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 9. So I do all of my writing on GameSpot.com. You can find me there. I have a lot of big projects I'm launching in the next month and a half. Unfortunately, I can't say anything about it. But if you like what I do, you should just keep an eye out.
Twitter, do you want to throw that out there as well?
Oh, yeah, at Alexa Ray C.
Hope I don't get stage fright. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Me. Rivet. Rivet. Now, what was I supposed to do again? Oh, yeah. Squonky. Squonky.
After I get him home, I'll never have to see this dog again.
Squonky. Squonky.
Oh, no. Don't get any ideas.
Squonky. Squonky.
Stop. I'm too young to fly.
Thanks for listening to My Favourite Game. Next week, Dan Pinchbeck on Stalker, Shadow Chernobyl. Until next week, Squonky! Bye!